Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is private money lenders, my favorite. Working with private money lenders can be a game changer for real estate investors. Here are 5 compelling reasons why it's beneficial to you and your real estate investment business. Number 1, faster access to capital. Private money lenders typically offer quicker approval and funding processes compared to traditional banks or hard money lenders. This speed is invaluable in the competitive real estate market where opportunities can be time sensitive. With private money lenders, you can seize profitable deals and close transactions more efficiently. Number 2, greater flexibility. Private money lenders are often more flexible when it comes to loan terms, repayment schedules, and collateral requirements. This flexibility allows you to tailor financing solutions to your specific project and investment strategy. You can negotiate terms that align with your goals and financial capabilities. Number 3, less stringent qualification criteria. Traditional lenders often have stringent credit and income requirements, making it challenging for some investors to secure loans. Private money lenders are typically more focused on the potential of the property and your investment plan than your credit history or financial background. This opens up opportunities for a broader range of investors. Number 4, personalized relationships. Building relationships with private money lenders can lead to long-term partnerships based on trust and mutual benefit. Over time, you can establish a network of reliable lenders who understand your investment style and are willing to support your projects. Number 5, competitive advantage. Access to private money lenders can give you a competitive advantage in the real estate market. Having the ability to secure funding quickly and on your own terms allows you to make strong offers, negotiate better deals, and stand out from other investors. This competitive edge can lead to more profitable investments. To sum this up, private money lenders offer real estate investors faster access to capital, flexibility in loan terms, a less rigid qualification process, opportunities for long-term relationships, and a competitive advantage. However, it's crucial to conduct due diligence and work with reputable private money lenders to ensure a mutually beneficial and successful partnership. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us Bob Vieira. Bob is a full-time real estate investor and founder of the company Universal Short Sales. USS is the fastest growing short sale processing company in the U.S. He partners with wholesale investors across the country on their dead short sale leads, allowing them to make consistent profits from leads that have negative equity. I am looking forward to hearing all about this, so welcome to the show, Bob Vieira. Listen to that applause.
Thank you.
Everybody's so excited to have you here.
I'm honored.
Short sales, I've had short sales people on before, and it's still, I'm like, oh, it's a great idea. And then like 2 days later, I'm like, squirrel, and I totally forget about it. So we had a quick little conversation at the beginning, and I feel like I'm leaving a lot on the table after just the few minutes we spoke. So I'm excited to hear all about this, but tell us, Bob, how did you get involved with short sales?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jen. So I started out in real estate, not as an investor, but as an agent, fresh out of college. Well, I should say I got a corporate job, and then I was so terrible I decided to fire myself 6 to 8 months in. Then then I got a real estate license, and just like any new agent, running around like a chicken with my head cut off, just trying to strum up any type of business I could. But I quickly realized that I needed a niche. I was just a generalist. I was decent. I wasn't really known for anything. I was kind of just surviving. And lo and behold, I started to stumble upon short sales. Now, at the time, I had no clue what the hell a short sale was, let alone how to do one. But just through trial and error and making mistakes, I ended up getting really, really good at the process, to the point where attorneys, other real estate agents were literally throwing me their business like, hey, I don't know how to do this. Take this short sale, help me. So fast forward to 2019, I realized, hey, there's just not a need for a short sale expert on a local level. This is a national problem. So that's when I founded Universal Short Sales.
Okay. So by the way, did you start in Pennsylvania?
Sure did. And Philadelphia.
Oh, very nice. I used to have a dog named Betsy Ross, by the way. So we took her to the Betsy Ross house up in Philly, and they rolled out the red carpet for her. She was signing autographs. Anyway, I digress. But
I love the history in Philly. There's nothing like it.
I do too. So cool. Yeah. So you are in Florida now, Sarasota, lovely area of Florida. But you do this across the country.
Yep.
Okay. So when I was reading your bio and your kind of questionnaire that I had you fill out, you talk about taking over these dead leads. And immediately I was like, ooh, there's this person I spoke to. There's this person. And I couldn't help them. And one of the great things about being a real estate investor is a lot of times we get to wear a superhero's cape and come in and help people out of a very tough situation, typically a financial situation. So for me, it crushed me to not be able to help the people who are immediately popping into my head because they owed too much for the property. So I'm leading you up here, but I want you to start with explaining what a short sale is, and then how is it different from, say, pre-foreclosure?
Sure. A short sale in its simplest form is when two things are happening at the same time. Number one, the homeowner is behind on their mortgage payments to the bank. Now, you mentioned pre-foreclosure. They don't have to be in a pre-foreclosure. It doesn't have to be that far down the road. It could literally be one payment behind. Jen, they could even tell you, hey, listen, I'm current on my mortgage now, but I just lost my job. Next month, I'm not going to be able to make it. Right. That still counts.
Okay.
So factor number one is behind on the mortgage. The second thing that's happening is they're underwater. They have negative equity.
What does that mean exactly?
Okay. So let's say they own a property, and the property in its as-is condition is worth $200,000, but they owe a $300,000 mortgage to the bank.
Whew, is that typical?
Yeah, way higher. That we see crazy mortgage balances. We can get into that later, and I'll explain to you why that happens. But for the sake of the definition, it's very simply the homeowner's mortgage balance exceeds what their property is worth. So they can't sell it the traditional way.
Okay. And that's exactly the situation. Well, definitely the situation of the second person that I was thinking of. And I just really was stumped on how I could help them. And I didn't have the bandwidth. We had so many projects going on. I really didn't have the time. So I love that you created Universal Short Sales, this company, because what you do is you have people send you those leads and then you take it from there. So how does that work?
Yeah. So, whenever you're a wholesaler, fix and flipper, whatever your main exit strategy is, if you're out there searching for high equity motivated sellers, which most real estate investors are, rightfully so, this is a dead lead. There's nothing you could do with the lead.
And that's how I felt. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? There's even a lot of sub 2 investors, people that are trying to do creative financing, where they'll end up sending it to us as a short sale because the homeowner just owes way too much on the mortgage.
Okay. So how does the partnership work with you?
Yep. So instead of throwing that dead lead out, we have literally a form on our website. You go on our website, fill out, it says wholesalers submit properties here. Super simple. You fill it out, send it over to us. We sign a JV agreement with you, which is whatever we can make from the property, whatever we net, we pay you 20% of the net.
Nice.
For every dead lead you send. And keep in mind, that's 20% for something where you do not lift a finger. We do all the work, keep you updated throughout the whole process. So you'll never be like, hey, I heard that Bob Vieira guy on Jen's podcast and I sent him a lead and, I think the guy ran off with it. That'll never happen because that's part of our business. So keep you updated and then we cut you a check. That's it.
Okay. So I can't make money off this from looking at what the situation is. How do you make money off it?
So we have two different business models. One of our business models is to be a third-party fee-based processor. This is simply where we decide not to buy the property. Somebody else buys it. And Jen, every short sale, even if it's an off-market deal, the bank requires it to be listed with a licensed agent on the market. So in that case, the agent lists it on the market. When they sell it, the end buyer pays us a fee on the HUD. That's our business model number one. Business model number two is we'll do the entire short sale and then we'll purchase the property. Okay, and then whatever we could flip it for, fix and flip, wholesale, whatever we net, 20% to the wholesaler.
Okay, go back to that first model again.
Yes.
Say it one more time.
Okay. So we're not the buyer. We would just be a third party.
You're listing it.
Company. No, we're not listing it. The licensed listing agent, local to the market, lists it. We're the short sale processing company in between.
Okay. And so they sell it, and then how do you get money from it though? If it's, if it's valued, if they owe 300,000, but they can only sell it for 200,000.
Yep. So in a short sale, so let's go back to that example I gave. Property's worth $200,000 as is. So let's say that's what the realtor sells it for, and they owe 300. So that $100,000 difference, Jen, that's called the deficiency.
Okay.
In a short sale, the bank forgives that deficiency.
Oh.
They wipe it away clean. So the seller avoids foreclosure, and then they're able to show up to closing and they do not have to cut a check for the $100K that they owe the bank. So the bank lets them sell it and it's just a clean slate.
And then you get a fee for that.
We get a fee in that situation if we don't purchase it. Yep.
Excellent. All right. Now let's go to number two. So then you get it, you buy it, and you fix it up and then sell it for a profit.
Yep. Sometimes we fix it. Sometimes it's a wholesale deal like we just did on a property down in the Panhandle in Florida. Very, very minimal work, and we just sold it. Sometimes it's going a little second level. Short sales are very complicated. Sometimes they have what's called deed restrictions in them.
Okay.
Which I don't even know how the heck this is legal, but the bank literally approves the short sale. And then they say, okay, we're going to approve this, Bob. You could buy it, but you're not allowed to sell it for 90 to 120 days. So sometimes we'll just have to literally buy the property, secure it, and just hold it for like 3-4 months. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, these deals are not.
So give me some examples of other short sale deals, because now my wheels are spinning because I have been in situations, one was facing foreclosure, was getting ready to get kicked out of his house, and he just owed too much in back payments for that one. We tried talking to the bank, but also there was an HOA involved as well. And it got out of my scope of, talent as far as purchasing properties, but that would have been something great to pass on to you. So give me some other examples so the listeners can say, oh my goodness, I'm dealing with that right now. Bob, save me, save these people, and let's, at least get something for this property.
Yeah, this is the most common situation I probably see. So just for anyone listening, 100% of our business right now, as we film this podcast, 100% of our business at Universal is referrals from listeners like you guys. It's kind of crazy. So the most common example we see is, let's say you're Okay. You're direct to seller marketing, which I'm sure you teach your students.
Yep.
And you're talking to a seller. They're super motivated. They want to sell and they're behind on their payments. You think, you're going to buy it and either wholesale it or buy it, purchase it, fix and flip, raise some private money like you mentioned. However, what happens is you open up title company orders a mortgage payoff statement.
Mm-hmm.
Then the truth comes. You look at that statement and then you realize, oh God, they owe way more than what I could pay for. So you could offer them, let's say you're trying to buy it at 80 grand cash, mortgage payoff comes back for 120. Okay. So in that situation, if your main objective is to wholesale it or buy it yourself and fix and flip, it's a dead lead. That's the most common situation we see when one of our investor partners sends a deal to us to review.
Now, is there a possibility of me going to the bank and renegotiating a price so that they can get something instead of it becoming a short sale?
Well, that's essentially what a short sale is.
Okay.
A short sale is the bank is pretty much exactly what you just said, Jen. They're willing to take something. They're willing to take, less than what's owed. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up. So the most important part of a short sale, because remember, at the end of the day, the lender is not in the real estate business. They have, especially these big lenders, they're lending on these properties. They have no clue what the property is worth a couple of years down the road. So what they do in a short sale is they'll hire a third party neutral appraiser. The appraiser comes out to the property and they value it. Whatever that value comes back at, that's what you could buy the short sale for. That's what the bank is going to approve the short sale for.
Okay. So you have people listening to this podcast saying, I have an exact deal, exactly what Bob is talking about. Let me send it over to him. How does the person sending you the deal, are they making a lot of money? Are you allowed to even talk about that? Like, what's the opportunity? Can you make a lot of money? That's where I'm getting.
Yeah. So, keep in mind, these are deadly. So I'm not on here saying I want your profitable business. Whoever's listening, we should be your last resort.
Okay.
I want you guys to fix and flip it, wholesale it, whatever the primary exit strategy is, that's what you should be focused on. We're just a tool in your tool belt. So when you're evaluating a deal and you're like, oh man, this is a dead lead, I can't do anything with it, but it's a qualified short sale, that's only then is when you send it over. So if we do our fee-based model, typically we'll make $10,000 unless it's a higher end property. We'll make 10 grand. And then after fees, typically we'll net around 6 to 7 maybe on a fee-based deal. So let's say $1,400 to the wholesaler. Okay. And that's for a dead lead. Now, when we purchase the property and we're able to resell it for hopefully a much bigger profit, you get 20% of that. So we just cut a check. We just sent a wire, I should say, to somebody. Actually, on that Panhandle deal I was just telling you about, the guy that referred it, it was a dead lead. He couldn't do anything with it. He made just under $5,000 on it for literally doing zero work and not being able to do anything. There was a Wisconsin one we did, God, back in November. It could have been before that. I could be wrong. She made $14,000 just as a referral.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, it varies depending on how much we can make from it.
So I like that you said that this is a tool in your tool belt, because one does not market for short sales, correct?
100% correct.
So one could be marketing for pre-foreclosures, which is a very common list that many people buy. And out of that list is where you would find, maybe some short sales, correct?
Bingo. I would say the top 2 ways people find them, come across them. Number one, pre-foreclosure list, obviously, because you're marketing to people that are, way behind on their mortgage. The second I would say is when people are doing like PPC, Facebook ads, you'll find a lot of them.
PPC is pay per click, by the way.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
Because you're not controlling the equity, right? Because a lot of people, if they're sending mailers or doing like a VA cold call list, they're going to set up the list. So it's like, 70 to 90% equity, whatever it is, 50% equity or however you guys do it. But when when you have leads calling you off of bandit signs, pay-per-click, Facebook ads, whatever the case is, you can't control, the kind of equity people have.
Interesting. And P.S. listeners, don't do Facebook ads right now. Very, very poor way to spend your money. There's much better ways to get your leads. Now, about 4 years ago, I was doing very well with Facebook ads, but that has just transitioned into find something better. Anyway.
They changed a lot of the
algorithms.
Criteria.
Yes.
I was doing it. Yeah. I was like, oh man, this is working. Yeah.
It works for some businesses, but I feel like the real estate got so oversaturated. And so anyway, sorry, I threw that out there. But so are there any steps for, say, the wholesaler or the flipper to do prior to coming to you that maybe they can save the deal? Is there anything like in between, some gray areas that maybe they could try to, because, they're the ones developing the relationship with the seller. The seller has, confessed to them what is going on. They've bonded. They are really trying to work with each other. Again, that superhero cape I talk about that real estate investors can wear. Are there any other steps that they can do prior to sending it to you?
I would say, try to make the deal work at all means possible. I mean, again, it's tough to say because it depends what your exit strategy is. Again, if if you have a deal at 123 Main Street and you're like, oh, wow, this is a great assignment of contract deal, and the payoff comes back too high, there's really not much you could do if that's your only exit strategy. I don't know if you teach your students sub 2 or how you feel about that. Okay. Yeah. Try to see if you could sub 2 it. That could work.
Okay. Can you explain to the listeners what a subject to deal is?
Yeah. A sub 2 is when you're essentially purchasing it subject to the existing mortgage in place. So the deed of the property is transferring. So you're purchasing the property, but the existing mortgage is staying in the actual seller's name. And, you're obviously responsible to pay that mortgage.
And Bob, I have been hearing that more and more banks are like catching on to this. Have you heard that?
I've been hearing a lot of that too. I mean, I definitely would not consider myself a sub 2 expert or guru. I know plenty. I know people that are really savvy in it. I mean, they don't seem to have any issues of it, but yeah, I definitely think it's one of those things where banks are starting to catch on, especially the smaller banks, I think, because they're more like boots on the ground,
That's true. All right. Interesting. Man, you are so good at this. So, I mean, this is pretty much everything in a nutshell. Do you have any like crazy stories of some really super complicated deals or maybe some super easy ones that you want to share? So it just kind of, it may spark something to a listener saying, oh, I didn't even think of that. I should have done that. So do you have any like crazy deals?
So do you want me to keep it just short sale or just investment deals in general?
Well, whatever. Let's open up the can of worms. Let's dig in. Let's go.
So a couple of years ago, I partnered on an 8-unit mixed use property with a partner of mine. We bought it in Wilmington, Delaware. And let's call it a month after I purchased the property, brand new investment. A couple of days before Christmas, I get a call early in the morning that startles me, wakes me up. So I answer the phone. And the second I answered it, I heard, so it was one of the tenants of the property calling, and she was just going ballistic, yelling, she was going crazy. And like, you could hear behind her, it sounded like she was standing next to a waterfall. Like you could like literally hear water just pouring down. I'm like, what, where the hell is she? Like, is she like, man, like, where is she? So she's like, Bob, there's a leak. And when I tell you that, so I sent the plumber over there, Jen, a pipe burst in the basement because it was freezing cold temperatures. The entire basement was submerged. I'm not talking about it was a swimming pool. It was coming. Okay. Do you guys have storm doors? We call them like the cellar doors.
I know storm doors. Yes.
When we opened the storm doors, the water was literally over. That's how the entire basement was submerged. They had to come and measure it. It was 14,000 gallons of water. 14,000. We had to take all the tenants out. That's 8 tenants. We had to take them out, keep them in a hotel for a month. I was spent my Christmas picking tenants up, driving them to, hotel, dropping them. I mean, It was an absolute nightmare.
Wow.
Absolute nightmare. The entire building had to get shut down. It got condemned by the city. And this was a month after we purchased it.
Welcome
the
to real
insurance company
estate.
denied our claim. Yeah.
So welcome to real estate. And water damage can really screw up your foundation too. So my goodness, what did it become a short sale? I'm just kidding.
All right, you got me. That's actually how I learned the business. I
really?
No, I'm kidding.
You got me, Bob. That was good. Well, this is amazing. And I mean, we went through this rather quickly, but I love this. This is very simple. And you do all the work, which is my absolute favorite thing. And then you receive a check later. So, you know, Bob, this is a genius idea. And thank you for sharing this on the show. We're going to jump into the second part of the podcast here, which is what makes Bob a badass. And I use the acronym BADASS. And the first letter is B for book. So what's a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
Secrets of a Millionaire Mind by T. Harver Eck, I think is his name.
Okay.
Unbelievable book. I try to read it once a year. It was referred by a mentor of mine. And, you know, I read it for the first time, I think 3 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. And I read it once every year.
I love that. I do that with 10X. And then that's a good one too. Not a big fan of him, but anyway, and then You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, because obviously I have all my badass lingo here, but that is, I love, and I bet you get something different every single time out of reading it. I do.
It's crazy.
That is awesome.
Same thing with you with 10X, I'm sure, right? Like you keep on reading a book and you pick something else up. You're like, oh, wow.
Yes, exactly. It's a great, great book. All right. So the first A in badass is for advice. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Yeah, the first mastermind I ever attended, which was actually Adrian, the one that Adrian Smoot put together, how you and I met.
Yep.
And they really got on me at that to outsource. Especially for the newer real estate investors listening, I used to overthink outsourcing and hiring people and thinking, you know what, I'll do it when I'm ready. I'll do it when I have X amount of money in the bank. And so do it earlier than later is what I'd say. Always start to build systems super early. Even if you're at the very beginning and you're not ready to hire yet, document your systems so that when you are, boom, you can pull the trigger. And that was a game changer for me. Learn to outsource.
So how did you pay for it in the beginning? I mean, how did you make it work when you were, That's
a tremendous question. Two things I did. One, utilize VAs. There's a lot of really, really good, talented VAs out there. Number two, hire people as independent contractors. There's certain positions where you don't have to lay out the money in the beginning. You could 1099 them and then you could pay. Obviously, that's not every position, but it's a creative way to outsource stuff, 1099.
And who was your first hire?
So I actually I was so pumped up to do it. I made 2 hires at once. There was a VA for, lower level lead generation stuff, sending emails, SMS, cold calls, that kind of stuff. And then I hired a full-time processor for my short sale business.
Wow, that's huge. How many people do you have working for Universal Short Sales now?
So I have 4, and then not counting every listing agent. So like every deal we contract the listing agent if there's not one, because every deal has to be listed. So, there's a lot of people that work on each deal pretty much. Interesting.
And so for the listing agents that you have, throughout the country, how do you find them? I mean, there may be some listeners that are agents that are like, hey, I'm all for that. I'm happy to list something.
Reach out. So we obviously have, in certain markets, Jen, where we're doing multiple short sales, we do a lot of business in certain markets. We have our go-to agents that we love to work with. But then in other markets, like right before the show, I was saying, we just did a deal in like the middle of nowhere, Kentucky, this tiny little town. We don't have an agent there. So we have a process where we hire and interview and hire the right agent for the job. That's what we do in markets where we don't have them.
All right, listeners, reach out. There's some money on the table here. All right. The D in badass is for drive. What drives Bob to be successful?
Having a point to prove. Having a point to prove to people and, being the first person in my family to actually build generational wealth, being the one, as Ed Milet says.
And did anyone ever tell you couldn't do it?
Not specifically, and not to my face, but for sure it's being said. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just talking with a student about it and how he's struggling because his family is like, what are you doing? You can't quit your perfectly good job. And, that is also having a point to prove, just like what you said for your drive. I love that. Yeah. Great job, Bob.
That student used that as fuel.
Exactly. That's the word I said too. Awesome. All right. The second A in badass is for aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So what is a goal you're currently working on?
Cash flow. So, I have my earned income, my business income in place. This year is about focusing on rental income and cash flow. I want to add 10 grand in net cash flow by the end of the year. That's my goal.
Very nice. So some of these short sale deals, I'm sure you're like, man, that's a really good deal. Do you keep a hold of some of them?
A lot of them, I'll be honest, with the interest rates the way they are, Jen, a lot of them, because most short sales we do are single family.
Okay.
A lot of them just don't pencil. They just don't cash flow good enough, and there's a management issue too, because we're doing them kind of all over the place. So even if a deal does underwrite well, I'm like, oh, who's going to manage this? I've never even been to this area before. So I have a market in Northeastern PA right now, which is where I'm from, outside of Scranton. That's where I'm building my rental portfolio.
Okay. All right. You are so good at this, Bob. All right. The first S in badass is for systems. I'm sure you have some great systems. So what systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
Yeah, going back, not to sound like a broken record, but going out to outsourcing. So what I really, really try to do, especially in my short sale business, I systemize everything, even the stuff I'm doing right now. I'm documenting it. I'm shooting videos, uploading them into Training, and I'm getting ready just to plug people in. So right now, the day-to-day operations in our business are 100% outsourced. All of our cold calling for like lead generation and stuff is outsourced.
And who are you?
Yeah, sorry.
What are the leads you're pulling?
So, so on the short sale end, we're 100% referral based, as I mentioned, but to get deals in Pennsylvania, I am pulling. Keep in mind, it's a small market. We don't care about equity. We're doing and it's off the top of my head, we're doing 2 to 5 plus units, multifamily, owned 5 or more years.
Oh.
So 2 to 5 plus, owned 5 or more years, and there's no parameters around equity.
And that's to get to your $10,000 a month.
That's to get the 10 a month. Yeah.
All right. I thought you were marketing to like real estate investors, like send me your leads, but because anyway, I know just I was just gonna say, I know the listeners for this show are gonna be like, get me this dude's number. I have so many things that I'm leaving on the table. So I love exactly everything that you've been talking about.
I would love to give my contact info. Honestly, I'm not like a huge conglomerate yet. It's a small company. Text me. I'll give everyone my cell phone number. Text me.
Let's
I'll
do
give you
that
my
now.
Email, reach out. That's it.
What is your cell phone number?
570-614-3232. Yeah, and definitely text me, because if I get a random call, I probably won't answer if it's not saved. So shoot me a text, say that you listen to me here, and then we'll just link up. We'll have a conversation about how we can do business.
Perfect. All right. So to wrap this up, the final S in badass is for success. What does success mean to Bob Vieira?
Back to that cash flow thing. The one thing I'm learning as I get deeper into my real estate investing business career is the earned income, the business income from, the fix and flips we do. It's great, and that wire hits the account, but you have to focus on cash flow. And that's what I'm learning now. So success to me is having the net cash flow cover all of my family's, monthly expenses, and truly being financially free. And that's my definition of financial freedom.
Super, super smart. So to wrap up this podcast, you gave us your cell phone number, but how do people find Universal Short Sales? How do they find that business? You have a website. You want to share that?
Yeah, universalshortsales.com.
That's easy. Very
Find
good.
us there. Find me on Facebook, Bobby Vieira, Vieira. I'm all over there posting about, deals we're doing, shooting videos on short sales. So you'll find me there, and then follow our business page too. And then we have a Facebook group as well, but you can find that on my personal Facebook.
And if they go to the website, universalshortsales.com, there's a form to fill out, which is a referral to you with a property. And what is entailed in that form? Just the address and
name, address, and then just to check a little box that does the owner know we're contacting them? Because, we like relationships. And Jen, you actually brought up an awesome point before. When the investor is building all that rapport, we want to leverage the rapport that they built, because we are a partner with them in the deal. So, we don't want cold leads where we're, it's more like a cold call. We're just a partner of the investor in the deal.
And I love that you clarify that, because there's so many dishonest investors out there, none that listen to this show, but that will see something and hear, oh, we couldn't get this. And then they'll just grab that name and address and then send it to you. But, building that relationship, because real estate is relationships, I think. And, you have developed that, and then we're passing it on to you so that we know they're going to be in good hands and being taken care of and have their issues, their financial situation solved. Now, are they saved from foreclosure? Like, is it going to help with their credit? Okay. Just want to make sure.
Actually, so I actually have an ebook. Whoever reaches out to me, that's actually, you just reminded me. So I have this ebook that I created for homeowners that are about to do a short sale. And so I didn't even create it for this reason. I just literally did it to help the sellers. But what ended up happening is realtors and investors give it to the homeowners, and then they end up getting the deal because the homeowners are impressed, like, oh, wow, like you're prepared with this. But yeah, like it answers all those questions, Jen. So,
is that on your website or?
I just have it in a PDF. I'll just send it to whoever reaches out.
And that cell phone number, one more time, for Bob Vieira, Vieira, is 570-614-3232. Bob,
or just find me. I'm sorry, Jen. Or just find me on Facebook and shoot me a private message that way too. We could connect.
Perfect. Bob, this has been eye-opening to me. I'm so glad I have another tool in my tool belt. Thank you for doing what you do, because there's such a need for this. I love all of this. So thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It's an awesome podcast, a great energy, great flow.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And that is all. Thank you for listening. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.